And I was taking vitamin IV drips every day, high dose of vitamin C, vitamin D, and NAD as well.
My concern when I spoke to you
Cube, I was just thinking the same thing. Everything but the vaccine. Like Ramsey's saying, I was thinking the exact, like, I'm down for every experimental therapy, concoction, mineral tonic, lozenge you can give me. Any experimental lozenge. I will take them all. God damn. But not that vaccine, all right? It hasn't been FDA. Oh, it has? Well, okay. Well, still, not that vaccine, okay? I don't need the 5G controlling me.
Joe Rogan says he tested positive for COVID-19, takes unproven horse dewormer.
Well, first off, on the word unproven, I'm a little confused. Are the vaccines proven or unproven?
Are the vaccines proven or unproven?
You know, we've covered this. There's a doctor down in Broward County, Florida. He's been administering ivermectin under a medical trial. It is working for some folks. You know, people are taking it off the shelf, buying it from a feed store. You know, they're taking horse medicine.
And I came back yesterday and I'm getting caught up on all of this. Can I flip the script here and ask you a question, which is, in the last month, did the mainstream media, did say Washington Post or New York Times or CNN or MSNBC, did any of them run any stories on general health, let's say, why eating right could make you healthier, or were dieting or exercise?
Using ivermectin.
And he wants kids back in schools, and he wants school choice, and he wants people to make decisions for themselves.
No, he's not pitched down. That's his actual voice. I know, it's utterly bizarre. But anyways, Dave Rubin jumped on board. The thing about Dave Rubin and Steven Crowder, I gotta get to Steven Crowder as well. Both of them, it was like almost instantaneously. Let's just play the Steven Crowder short.
What treatment do they give you right now for COVID? I'm not talking about a vaccine.
Steven Crowder, first day back from his month-long mix of vacation and operations that he was having, back to being a bigot online for hundreds of thousands of listeners. But it's unusual that both him and Dave Rubin, as soon as they returned, went immediately on the ivermectin train. Both of them. They didn't miss a beat. It was like the first show back. It's like, oh, by the way, you got to talk about big ivermectin. That's right. There's money to be had here somewhere. I haven't figured it out yet, though.
Vaccine.
Yeah.
Which people obviously should make that decision between them and their prescribing physician.
Yeah.
Of course, everyone should have the right and decision to control their own body and what they put in their own body. What treatment, though, if you already have COVID? If you go to the hospital now, they say go home and take Tylenol, come back in, and they toss you on a ventilator. In other words, let's say ivermectin were used, which it has been in some other countries. We cannot argue whether it's been used effectively or not, because that's not allowed on YouTube. However,
I think we could say Joe Rogan did effectively use it, though, or at least in his opinion.
Along with the monoclonal.
It helped.
Monoclonal.
How can you do that? You can't. You have no idea, A, if he actually took it, because there's not like a record of him taking all these things. It's just him saying it out loud. These are words coming out of his mouth. We have no idea what other treatments he's received. I'm sure he's received a whole bunch of treatments from those doctors. Maybe he even got that zombie injection that Donald Trump got right away. Put him on a healthy dose. It was a huge cocktail.
And the vitamin
antibodies.
Don't forget that.
Yeah, but 3 days later, he tested negative. But the point is, they say, as an alternative treatment, let's say you used ivermectin. Let's say you used hydroxychloroquine. Let's say you used whatever it could be, vitamin C, Kashtanga root, take your pick. It would be in lieu of what treatment given to you at the hospital? None.
It's utterly bizarre that the first days back, he went right to ivermectin. Same thing with Dave Rubin. Dave Rubin did the whole well, I've been unplugged for so long. What's going on out there in the big world? And then everyone's like, well, we need to talk about these alternative therapies, Mr. Rubin. Anyways, Joe Rogan's not too pleased about what people have been saying about him.
I'm glad you're well, man.
Bro, do I have to sue CNN?
I don't know, do you?
They're making shit up. They keep saying I'm taking horse dewormer. I literally got it from a doctor. It's an American company.
Mm-hmm.
They won the Nobel Prize in 2015 for use on human beings.
Yeah.
Okay, because Alex Jones is pushing this a lot too. Nobel Prize winning for humans. 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 Yes, for deworming, for acting as a deworming solution for deworming, getting rid of parasites. That's what it won for. It did not win a Nobel Prize for the use of combating COVID-19. Of course, at the time that it won the Nobel Prize, we were unaware of COVID-19, or COVID-19 didn't exist at that point in Earth's history. So just so we're sure.
And CNN is saying I'm taking horse dewormer.
Yeah. What? So
They must know that that's a lie.
Well, there's a lot of people saying it.
Right, but a lot of people can say it.
Okay.
Like the internet says it, who cares?
sure,
But
but
CNN is saying it. Like Jim Acosta.
I meant like USA Today, a few other
yeah.
places,
and they're
not just
talking
people.
about ivermectin, right?
Yeah.
So what? Because I don't know. I just saw so much news
America's
about
back
you. I mean, I
punishment.
would talk to you and check on you and see if you're all right. And you're like, you threw the kitchen sink at it. You said,
Yeah.
which was stuff that you took IV drips and what was it?
Monoclonal antibodies.
And that what is monoclonal antibodies?
It's the shit they gave Trump.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then what? So who said, or did you already want ivermectin? Like,
Well, I had this guy on, Dr. Pierre Corey, and he is, what is the organization he's from? Frontline COVID Critical Care Workers. He's well-established doctors, treated thousands of people with COVID, and they've, early on in the pandemic, they found some good efficacy with ivermectin. Frontline 19 Critical Care Alliance.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, let's play this back one more time. This might finally have solved the mystery, though.
Good
It's a different group?
efficacy with ivermectin.
The AFLD is the sperm demon lady. Oh shit. Okay, that's a different one. But they're not selling ivermectin. The AFLD is just promoting ivermectin, right?
Frontline 19 Critical Care Alliance.
Okay.
Yeah.
Frontline Critical Care Alliance. This is it. Poison control might receive one call from someone who's taking ivermectin. The lesson is not about ivermectin being poisonous. It isn't, but it's about the pervasiveness of a type of new internet propaganda teamed information flooding. What's even more alarming, are you kidding me? 9 telephone calls make the news. CDC coordinates 55 poison control centers. Suddenly we see hundreds of articles on so-called ivermectin poisoning. Indeed, we need to see more articles published than there were telephone calls in August on ivermectin to poison control centers in the entire nation. NPR reports that during this period, January 1st to August 31st, there were 1,143 ivermectin telephone calls to poison control centers, which works out to 143 calls per month. That's a lot that's still a lot for 1,000 people. Was careful to clarify that although telephone calls to poison control had increased, the vast majority of callers only had mild symptoms. There's no hospitalizations. Yeah, we never said there was hospitalizations. If you're still left wondering whether there might be a tiny grain of truth to these articles, consider what was reported in Utah. The alarmist article, the Utah Poison Control Center. So this is definitely like, why are so many people talking about ivermectin poisonings instead of talking about how great ivermectin actually is? Okay, Brett Weinstein, Dr. Pierre Corey, just like, I feel like we're getting close. I feel like we're getting close to this entire ivermectin conspiracy theory. The other day, Ken Klippenstein put out a tweet, and the tweet read, contact me anonymously. He's really good at protecting sources. If you've been asked to promote ivermectin or ivermectin use, please, and so I'm curious what story is going to come out of that. But this all seems intertwined. The only problem with this that doesn't make sense to me is that ivermectin doesn't have a copyright on its production. Like, anyone can make it. So it's not like there's going to be one company that's like Big Worm behind the whole thing. Yeah, I know. I think we're just missing like one or two puzzle pieces. We're close, though. We're very close. I feel like we could be the ones that break the story. I'd like to. I think I've been at the forefront of this. Joe, you owe me, to say the least.
So I had him on, and he had talked to me about it. He's not the only.
Canada's looking to permanently block Chelsea Manning from entering the country. Is that true? Yes. So a board is going over it. I would read the article in the Globe and Mail. It's not specific to the Trudeau government. It's an independent board that's overseeing this process. They've rejected her before in the past. You would think after the pardon and everything that Canada would finally let this go. But there's a lot of times when Canada sucks. The good news is I spoke to Chelsea about it. She got lawyers. She's going to be good.
The only doctor that told me to take it. Multiple doctors told me to take it.
Mm-hmm.
It's supposed to have what is the exact thing it's supposed to do? There's something that I highlighted. And this is obviously, I'm not a doctor. It says ivermectin was found to be a blocker of viral replicase, REP.
By the way, I'm starting to see it pop up in more corners of the internet. Remember the other day when I found that report, someone had posted a scientific study saying that ivermectin dramatically reduces sperm count in men? Wait, that PPC guy, the one who was all about semen retention, he should be deeply concerned about ivermectin and this increase in ivermectin use. This could be a danger to all semen retainers everywhere. Semen retainers.
LICASA protease, and I don't know what this word is. Human T.
It affects your reading skills too. What? It can also give you ED.
I don't know.
What?
But what they didn't highlight is that I got better.
Yeah, you got better quickly.
They try to make it seem as if like I'm doing some wacky shit that's completely ineffective. And
right.
CNN was saying that I'm a distributor of misinformation. Also, that was the other thing that happened. The in Tokyo, in Japan, which is apparently they're very conservative about the medication that they use.
That is true.
And the medications that they endorse. But the Tokyo Medical Association,
you're not even allowed to have fluoride in Japan. So if you want toothpaste with fluoride, you got to buy it elsewhere and bring it into the country and then use it yourself.
The chairman held a live press conference recommending ivermectin to all doctors for all COVID patients.
Last week, I made a video diving into exactly why people are eating horse deworming paste.
I trust Rebecca Watson. I do.
This is a Nigerian study on patients with river blindness. And I'm so sorry to tell you this, but river blindness is a horrific condition that is endemic mostly in sub-Saharan countries. And it is caused by worms in your eyeballs. You get it by getting bit by a fly that has the worms. As you may have learned in my previous video, ivermectin specifically attacks the nerves.
Fucking savage. Holy shit. Man, it's like the Rick and Morty sketch with the ants in the eyes. And you're like, well, that's silly, but that doesn't actually happen. But it's worse. Worms in your eyeballs that render you blind. Holy shit. Man.
Cells found in invertebrates.
That's fucking terrible.
The treatment for river blindness is to take ivermectin once a year for 10 to 15 years. So
I don't know.
The 85% figure comes not from the study linked in the tweet that's been going around, but from a reference in that study to a report. I checked out the citation and it's not written correctly, so I had to go searching for it and I couldn't find it. But in looking, I did find another curious person who found the same thing as me. And because this is the internet, I'm sorry, but I must refer to him as Falcon Darkstar.
Cool.
Falcon, Mr. Darkstar, points out that the Journal of Biomedical Investigation that is in the citation wasn't published until 2003, even though the citation says this particular report is from 2002. Falcon couldn't find any similar report, and I can't either. So I'm sorry, but we have to throw out the 85% idea.
What's wrong with Falcon Darkstar? Nothing.
A real study on that. The actual study linked looked at 385 patients with river blindness, which would be a great number of subjects to have. So it's unfortunate that they dismissed 90% of them for various reasons, like their sperm count was already too low, leaving them with a scant 37 subjects. Not that many. Of those 37 subjects, they found that for various reasons, 60% of the patients lost fertility after taking ivermectin. And that's it. A handful of men experienced a drop in fertility, but we don't know for how long or why, or if this is just a statistical blip due to having so few subjects.
So it's not a controlled study.
And knowing that the authors couldn't even properly cite a report from a journal that existed at the time of the publication, are we really confident in the rest of their data?
No.
There are studies that suggest ivermectin can affect the fertility in animals, like this one that was correctly cited by that Nigerian study. In an investigation of the effects of ivermectin on blood serum, semen, activities, and spermatological characteristics in sheep, the authors concluded that the use of ivermectin is not suitable during ramming season. So that's about what we can say about that. Fellas, don't take ivermectin during ramming season.
Good to know. Good to know. I'm sure Joe Rogan will love that.
But with regard to this, people go, it's insane to take ivermectin. Like you see it everywhere. Everyone's like, this is wild. Don't take this shit. And then you have the head of the fucking Tokyo whatever medical commission saying, take ivermectin.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on, man. You know, there's a lot of speculation. One of the speculations involves the emergency use authorization for the vaccines. That in order for there to be an emergency use authorization, there has to be no treatment for a disease.
Right.
So because there is this treatment in ivermectin, and there's other treatments too.
Right.
Because of this, there's a lot of pushback against potential treatments and pretending that they don't really work or that they're conspiracy theories. This is the grand conspiracy, right? The grand conspiracy is that the pharmaceutical companies are all in cahoots to try to make anybody who takes this stuff look crazy. But what's crazy is look how better I got.
Yeah.
I got better pretty quick, bitch.
Let's go to like your whole experience.
Yeah.
So you get back.
But he took so many different things and had the supervision of doctors. It's not like saying like, well, ivermectin works. We have anecdote Rogan. Antidote Joe.
I guess so. Fort Lauderdale was the first show. Then that was Tampa. Good.
And you knew it then?
I woke up in the morning. I knew it. By the time in the morning, I was like, something's going on. Let's see what it is. It was 90 whatever % sure it was COVID. So morning I got tested. Turned out positive, and then just.
And this is Sunday?
Sunday.
So Sunday you find out you're positive, and then that day you feel sick, right? You're just in bed, relaxed.
Yeah, that
resting.
day, headache, sick,
and
weak.
Do you immediately? This is what I hadn't asked you yet. Did you have a plan in place in your head for like, if I get COVID, I would do these? So
Yes.
So when you find out you're positive,
Yeah.
you start reaching out for these treatments.
Yeah, I already had it in place.
You did.
Yeah, I was already ready to go.
So and then you start taking them that day.
Yeah, I got it. I got all the stuff that I needed, took it that day, and then Monday I felt pretty fucking good. And I was taking vitamin IV drips every day, high dose vitamin C, vitamin D, and NAD as well.
My concern when I spoke to you
Coop, I was just thinking the same thing. Everything but the vaccine. Like Ramsey's saying, I was thinking the exact, like, I'm down for every experimental therapy, concoction, mineral tonic, lozenge you can give me. Any experimental lozenge. I will take them all. God damn. But not that vaccine, all right? It hasn't been FDA. Oh, it has? Well, okay. Well, still, not that vaccine, okay? I don't need the 5G controlling me.
Just, will you please fucking rest? That's what I texted you. I was like, no hill runs, no fucking kettlebells, and don't wrestle any fucking cattle today. Just rest.
I did.
You're like, I'm going to rest. I'm going to rest.
I rested.
I know.
You should have posted this to OK Buddy the Serfs. I do not avoid women, but I do deny them by essence. You know what's funny is I used one of those apps that put your face into like movies and stuff. And I was like, oh yeah, I'll just stick around with this app for 2 seconds and see if I can make some funny intro footage or something. And it just looked like weird hybrids of Brendan Fraser and other actors, like The Rock and other shit like that. I was like, this is strange. The vitamin C stuff was actually started in the 70s by one of the most brilliant chemists of the 20th century. He was a genius, but also a quack. What, that vitamin C cures everything? Vitamin C does cure everything. That one's not a lie.
No, I did. I rested.
I know.
Did. I didn't do shit but watch TV. I actually enjoyed the first couple days because I was like, this is a nice, like a legit, solid excuse where I don't have to do anything.
Yes.
But, you know, after I did this and I hit it with the NAD and the high-dose vitamin C, I think it was 10,000 milligrams of vitamin C in the IV drip, which is like it's very effective. It goes right into your bloodstream, right?
Yeah.
After that and the monoclonal antibodies and all the other stuff, literally on Monday I felt pretty fucking good.
So that's pretty fast.
Pretty
man.
fast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and hey, that's fantastic. And honestly, it's something that I wish was available to all Americans in terms of the monoclonal bodies. Like, I don't know if these kind of therapies and things are available to anyone who doesn't have extensive health care and or doctors who are willing to try some experimental medication on their patients. Don't think that's something that's readily available. So as long as you keep touting this as some kind of miracle cure, or you even now have this anecdote where you're like, yeah, I've done it myself and I was fine in about 2 days. Do you think maybe the people who are buying out horse paste all across America are going to continue, or like is that going to abate? Like is it going to be more horse paste or less horse paste?
When I got COVID, I was in like the hospital recovering from surgery.
Right.
And I thought it was the opioid withdrawals, of which they told me they're like, you're going to feel like shit when you get off of these.
Like the flu,
The theme
right?
park actually looks
It's
pretty
exactly. They said you're going to get emotional and you're going to feel terrible. And I was like, okay. And I got off of them like on a Saturday. I stopped taking them after like 2 weeks. And then on Monday, I think it was Monday or Tuesday, I had PT and OT back to back. And afterwards, I was like, man, I feel terrible.
What is OT?
Occupational therapy.
What's
It's
the
usually,
difference?
like, above the waist is kind of the way they tell you. Like PT's below the waist, OT's above the waist.
Oh.
So they were treating my knee for PT, and then the OT was like the arm and hand stuff. And I did them back to back, like, and they're hour each.
Oh, congrats,
and I'm all
Ramses.
fucked
That's
up.
hard.
So they're like, yeah, of course you're tired and shit. Like, take a nap. And I slept for like 3 hours. And they're like, God damn. You know, I gave up the argument. I was arguing with my cousin, who's an ID doctor.
What's an ID doctor?
Infectious disease doctor.
Oh.
So this is what she treats. And she's in the hospitals, you know, every day. And she was like, when the Delta variant came out, she was like, this thing is no joke. She's like, this is all I'm seeing. You have to get vaxxed, especially if you're going on tour. And I was like, well, what about, and whatever. I was like, fine, I'll just go.
Yeah.
Good.
Well, it didn't bother you.
Yeah, it didn't bother me.
Good medical advice on Joe Rogan for a change. You love to see it.
But it's like, when you're sick,
Yeah.
people are like, I wish you were more sick.
Well, the good
God
news is I was
damn.
only sick for a day.
That's true. Yeah. It's just wild that there's people, they're like, I wish you were more sick.
Oh, that's weird. But also, it's like, it's so random, okay? That can, just so many factors at play here. It could be that Joe Rogan is very healthy. It could be that he's one of the people who doesn't actually get affected by COVID. It seems to be a lottery in terms of how people are actually reacting. And it's nice to see someone who's actually promoting something other than we should try experimental medications to try and cure ourselves, and don't take the medication if you're healthy. Everyone should get vaccinated. Everyone. Including you, Joe. You're next. We're coming for you.
They must know that that's a lie.
There's a lot of people saying it.
Right, but a lot of people can say it.
Okay.
Like the internet says it, who cares?
Sure, but
But CNN is saying it.
I think that the last part of that to me is key, because there is a distinction here. The internet is allowed its satire, its hyperbole, it's allowed its jokes, and Rogan himself was like, hey, you want to joke about me taking horse dewormer and you're some random account on the internet?
I'm going to have to agree with Frank Grimm here. I mean, I have made a few jokes at Mr. Rogan's expense. It's definitely been a popular theme around this corner of the internet for a while now, and we have fun, and I like that we're protected by the nonsense clause, which of course protects all Canadians from nonsense and nonsense-related nonsensory.
Fine, have at it. But to him, CNN is different, and he still wants CNN to uphold journalistic standards. And I saw somebody on Twitter say that CNN needs to decide whether it's a news outlet or whether it's just a bunch of posters like all of us. And so that is the question for them. Kim, do you think that he actually has a case here?
Yeah, I do. I think that, they certainly, I guess, would it be slander or is it libel? I always get those two confused. I think it's slander.
Slander, if you're talking, it's libel. It's libel in print. It's slander.
Libel's printing, slander, saying it out loud.
The claim is defamation,
And they weren't the only ones that did it. NBC News did it. I saw NPR do it as well. There were actually numerous outlets that said Joe Rogan had taken horse dewormer. And, I even talked about this previously on the show. How do they get away with saying that? Do they know that he took the gel, that he ordered it, he went to the livestock place and he put it in a spoon and took it? I mean, it is totally misleading. And not only that, but it's dangerous for them to say that, right? Because Joe Rogan is somebody that people actually do follow. They do listen to him. And if NBC or CNN or NPR start saying he took horse dewormer, that might actually make a person say, well, if he did it, then I will too, right?
Yeah. So there's no question that it is loud.
That is true. That is true. And it's irresponsible. I know everyone has fun with the old laughy laughs at the expense of these giant media corporations, and they all suck. I'm no fan of giant media corporations. It's one of the reasons why I think so many people flock to strange corners of the internet, like the one you're in right now, to hear the opinions of strange people. Not the kind of weird ones that Tucker Carlson's talking about. I'm talking about the good strange. Anyways, Joe Rogan's obviously very upset about this, and he's apparently going to be threatening litigation.
An experience.
It's spooky to think that these mainstream news publications have been completely captured, completely, to the point where they're all spitting out the exact same narrative. And you're watching it in real time, and you're like, wow, this is crazy.
Yeah. I want to say something about horse dewormer. I want to talk about her book, but I want to say something about horse dewormer first.
Wait. This is Joe Rogan and Brett Weinstein and his wife. Wow. It's a good old crew here. Let's hear more. I mean, these are some of the origin stories of the Ivermectin craze.
I really want to talk about your book.
Yeah, but never before have I wanted to talk about horse dewormer, but I feel like it now. So Ivermectin, the drug that shall not be named, sure, it works against worms in horses and other organisms, but It's
humans too.
Literally understood. It's it's on the WHO's list of essential medicines and has been for years. The discoverer and developer won the Nobel Prize for it in 2014-15. I can't remember. And it's literally understood to have antibacterial and antiviral qualities and works against lots of other RNA viruses like Zika and dengue and yellow fever. And no one is talking about that. So
in vitro, and everyone is talking about it. Fucking everybody. Y'all got this story everywhere. Like it's just like the story now. Everyone's talking about it. The problem was from the get-go with you and your husband taking ivermectin on the stream and saying like, I'm going to do this in lieu of taking the vaccines, because that is what you did. That is what you both did on that special, because we watched it here. I know for a fact you said we're not vaccinated. We're in this high, high risk factor. So we're going to take some ivermectin, which yes, was for humans, prescribed by, I'm sure, a doctor, which is only prescribed for things like deworming humans. That's what it's supposed to be good for. That's what it won the Nobel Prize winning for humans. That was for deworming. All right. Now the idea of doctors prescribing it has not been approved by the FDA for COVID-19. And the problem is, by all of you, including you, Jimmy Dore, everyone else who's been doing this, pushing this out there to a very scared populace of people who do not have healthcare in the United States, they're going to look for ivermectin and get it however which way they can. And then we have the horse deworming paste phenomenon. So it's not even you who are like suffering from this whole fiasco. It's poor people. It's poor people who don't have healthcare, or poor people who don't have access to a doctor that's going to, tell them you should probably just get the vaccine. You should get vaccinated rather than trying out this. And yes, it is experimental for COVID-19. I mean, there are some studies that show promise, and that's about as far as I can say. But at this time, it has not been approved for use by humans for this.
Is it not as effective as some people think it is against COVID? Maybe, sure. But is it dangerous? No. It's been given hundreds of millions of doses. And
that really depends. It depends on the person, depends on the dose, depends on their pre-existing conditions. You can't sell the idea that this stuff is Tylenol, because that's what's winding up getting people so very sick. Because they're like, well, sure, I guess if it's like safe, the horse version can't be too bad. It's apple flavored. I'm going to ignore the fact that on this one tube it says it's made for like a 1,250 pound horse. That's a lot of weight. Probably could fuck me up real bad if I try it.
Is it effective? It seems so, but given that it's safe, why?
Yeah, and Tylenol can kill you. Yeah, isn't there about 1,000 deaths a year from like common Tylenol?
Well, you were explaining to me the actual dosage that you would have to take to get sick off of this in relation to all these fake stories, the ones that Rachel Maddow tweeted saying that gunshot victims have to wait in line at the hospital, which is a full-on lie that the Rolling Stone magazine printed. Full-on lie that gunshot wound victims are waiting because
I don't get this. Why can you call that out as bullshit, which is obvious bullshit? Why can you call that out and not call out any of the other shit, including the stuff that you're spouting? Like, it would be a great time now to be like, you know what? CNN has come out and they said that I'm taking horse dewormer, and then that is going to encourage more people to take horse dewormer. You know what? That's bullshit. And I want to get on the record right now and say this, okay? Not only did I never prescribe anyone should take ivermectin or the horse dewormer, but I was talking about the one for humans. And honestly, the people who do not stipulate this are committing, like, they're contributing to the dangers of people taking this shit. More people are going to take it because they're scared. They don't have health insurance. That's the real problem here. Come out and call out all the bullshit. But no, it's like this specific story, and now we're going to run with it.
Hospitals are overrun by people who have overdosed on this horse dewormer. But what is the actual?
It depends on the state.
Show? Well, I'm because I'm neither a doctor nor a toxicologist. I'm concerned about citing the result, but I did pursue this with a friend of ours who is a PhD toxicologist.
Yeah, Squid, I got that open.
What are the chances that these stories of hospital beds filling up with people taking too much horse paste are true? And he found it very unlikely, on the basis that even a massive overdose does not seem to be destructive, even over the course of many days.
So wait, is that the standard y'all are setting? If someone dies, it's like, yeah, well, I mean, I guess we went too far. Someone actually died on the horse paste, so probably should have told everybody to stop doing it well before that happened. Probably, we had a really big window, a large window. We saw that there was hundreds of calls into poison control centers. We could have said something, but instead we decided to talk about the Rolling Stone article, because that's better.
That he was referring to a primate study in which very high doses were given to monkeys. And so in any case, we don't know what the truth of these things. We obviously don't know anything about whether the horse paste is, well produced. It's possible there's something else in it that's not supposed to be there. But the idea that the drug...
Just please just condemn it. Just tell people not to take the horse paste, because they're taking the horse paste. You know they are. Why are you talking about the purity levels of the horse paste? Well, we're not entirely sure if it's good horse paste. I mean, it could be some of the finest horse paste. I for one, have known many horse paste producers, and there are some who may be spurious, yes, and I do not want to disenfranchise those who may be, of course, dishonest actors. But for those who are making a fine horse paste, I say to you, like, good business, and hopefully many will buy the horse paste.
The drug itself is causing a wave of overdoses that is putting people in the hospital is inconsistent with the toxicological data that we've got.
I think it's probably causing a wave of calls to poison control centers with people asking questions.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So can any of you say, please, listeners, stop taking horse paste? I haven't heard one of you say it yet.
Right.
Yeah.
But people asking questions is not the same thing as people being poisoned.
They're not asking questions. They're just listening to you. And they really want that ivermectin because they're really scared and they might be sick with COVID. So they're taking anything they can get their hands on. It's selling out in farm stores.
And at the same time, one of the things that we were talking about earlier is that there is a drug being developed that mirrors the effects of ivermectin.
Yeah, a protease inhibitor. And, who knows, it may work. But let's say it does work and maybe it runs into less resistance because it will be under patent and therefore profitable. One thing that it definitely won't be is something that we have enough experience with to know what its harms are. The thing about ivermectin is because it's been in use for 40 years and has been administered something like 4
as a dewormer
times. We know a lot about its consequences, and they're not zero, but it is one of the safest drugs available to us.
There's this thing that's happening too, though, and this is where it gets fascinating because there's the psychology of these drugs and of compliance and of which team you're on. Are you on team, mainstream news, people that follow the news in a sense, or sort of a peripheral sense that believe everything Fauci says and don't understand how bizarre these things get when massive amounts of profits are involved? And these people automatically want to ridicule
I got a sad story
anything
about that.
that might be outside of the realm of what's being promoted in the mainstream media, which is get vaccinated, which is really all you're hearing.
Yeah,
well, we all need to be on team skeptic, right? Because, if you just simply track the stories that we have been assured are true that have then shown themselves to be false, right? Like the overdoses that were keeping gunshot victims out of the hospital.
They're not going to do it. They're not going to condemn. They're not even going to recommend. Can you just say out loud, by the way, to all our listeners right now, we would like to tell you, if you have been influenced by any of us to take ivermectin to cure COVID-19, please only do so under the supervision of a doctor, the prescription of a doctor. And unfortunately, at this time, doctors are not prescribing it for COVID-19, so do not attempt to buy it. It is being researched, and soon, once the research proves its efficacy, we can come out and then we can say whether or not you should be taking it. In the interim, if you take the version that is intended for animals, which is available without a prescription, you could get incredibly sick and or die, so please do not do that. There, take that. You can even use the sound clip. There, verbatim. First try.
These stories are revealing that something is just not right about our...
All you're talking about is these other stories, the other fake stories. And shame on the Rolling Stone for doing that.
Make of it. But the fact that Anthony Fauci was yesterday...
This isn't skepticism.
...to have clearly lied to Congress when he told them we didn't fund gain-of-function research in Wuhan.
Political puppy. I completely agree. Skepticism used to be better. Now it's just anti-science conspiracy shit. No kidding. This is not I wonder what Christopher Hitchens would be saying about this era if he was alive today. I'm very curious. Would he have gone full on into the dark side like he was for a while, kind of flirting with being a neocon and stuff like that? Or would he suddenly be like, the intellectual dark web, y'all are all clowns. Every single one. What are you doing? He would say it a lot more eloquently than that, I'm sure. But if it got to this point, by the way, this whole horse deworming saga, this has been kind of a breaking point I found for a lot of people online, where they're like, I used to be a Joe Rogan fan, but it's just it's hard now. Or I used to be a Jimmy Dore fan, but it's just weird that he's promoting ivermectin all the time, and he's really fighting and pushing up against any type of scientific response to any of it.
It's obvious when he said these things, but everyone assumed he had defined the terms in some way that would justify that claim. No, it was just a lie. So here we have somebody who, lied to us about masks, has lied to us multiple times, and was also apparently a key to conducting funds in in violation of our own ban on gain-of-function research, conducting funds to the Wuhan Institute, which may well have caused the pandemic. How is the person
that part is completely been falsified? That last part he just said out loud, that is false. He is spreading misinformation right there in real time. We just, like a couple days ago, pulled up the Intercept article that all of these ghouls are using, by the way. Just finish reading the article. Read past the headline. It's in the third paragraph. It is conclusively, this does not prove that this was the cause of the pandemic. It will not have synthetic origins, blah, 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 like people have been telling you for a long time. It does show that there's a connection between the Fauci, the organization he was working for, and the gain-of-function research that was going down at that institute. It has nothing to do with COVID-19. It's now been debunked. So every single time they come out and add that last part, you are just lying or you're unaware of the facts.
Position to have circumvented a congressional ban on this kind of research and possibly therefore have played a prominent role in producing the pandemic. How is he also in charge of keeping us safe? And why are we tolerating him lying to us?
So you said we all need to be on Team Skeptic. I mean, Joe's exactly right. We're all being told you're on Team Blue, effectively, you're on Team Mainstream, or you're someone else. You're persona non grata, and you're going to become a second-class citizen. I was going to say we all need to be on Team Science.
You are all the furthest thing from Team Science. You keep rejecting it. What about the vaccines? You have overwhelming amounts of data on this. There's so many global studies that have been done, tons of different sample sizes, tons of different people in different demographics, different ethnicities, different locations, thousands and thousands and thousands of humans who have taken it, and a whole bunch of different vaccines too. You have an overwhelming amount of science in that category. And yet you're like, and why isn't anyone talking about this experimental drug known as Ivermectin, which has shown a lot of promise in South America and some countries in Africa to be taken? It's typically used as a dewormer for parasites, but I think it may have some potential in vitro in this case, and we should talk about the science. We should be skeptics.
The people who keep on adopting the mantle of science are like, no, follow this hashtag, follow the science, right? All too often, hashtag follow the science. When you dig, it's like, oh, well, we went into a back room somewhere and concluded some things, and we're going to tell you the conclusion, but just listen to us because we're scientists. You can tell because the lab coats. Like, no, actually, that's not how science works. Science works by
the self-awareness meter has turned to zero, because this is literally your grift.
Really,
You're describing your grift.
This
is what you are doing.
Results. And we see very little falsification going on right now in mainstream media land.
One of the grossest things from Fauci is when he said an attack on Anthony Fauci is an attack on science itself.
Yeah, that's cringe. That's super cringe.
Bad guy in a movie shit.
You're right. It's cartoon
third person
villain.
Bad guy in a movie shit. Like you're literally referring to yourself in the third person. This is madness.
Yeah. And you know what? I'd like you to refer to someone who doesn't push these pseudoscientific stories that gets people hurt. And then are you going to walk it back? We're almost out of time.
Something is very far off, that this thing just keeps running no matter what evidence of dishonesty emerges.
Yeah, it's very strange. It's very strange. It's like we lost our minds during the Trump administration. Mm-hmm. And objectivity got completely thrown out the window. Tribalism got ramped up to 11. And if you're on the right team, they'll protect you. And he's on the right team. And they got him in this slot as the expert that we go to no matter what. And he's the guy Jim Acosta was talking to about horse dewormer.
Yeah,
that's right.
Absolutely. When I heard that you had taken horse dewormer, I thought, Joe is so famous, I bet the Poison Control Center called him.
LOL.
Ooh, they love that one. It's funny because people are getting super sick.
To believe works and doesn't. They gave him the kitchen sink treatment as you got. Right?
You know what's so weird is they're acknowledging that that's a weird story for CNN to have done, and I'll agree with you. It's weird for CNN to have made something like that up, but they're not acknowledging the fact that it's very bad for humans to do it, and you should not do it. They haven't said that yet. They haven't even said that, by the way, anyone listening to this, you should not be taking the horse paste. Please don't do it. You'll get sick. It'll hurt you.
Pierre Corey also got COVID, also recovered very quickly. Why? Because he was capable of getting whatever he needed, whatever the right thing was. And
there's the key point. Everyday people don't have access to this like you and Joe Rogan do. They don't have like multi-million-dollar celebrity doctors who are like, oh, what do you need? Yeah, no, I'll get you prescripts. I'll get you whatever you want. Sure, here's some ivermectin. We'll throw the kitchen sink at it. Like Joe said, they're going to throw the kitchen sink at it. Ivermectin. Like average day, like most people don't even have doctors in America. That's the problem. That's why they're buying horse paste, because you are on this side in, yes, I'll just say it, the ivory tower, being like, well, ivermectin has been proven to be very effective. If you don't want to take the vaccine, this will cure it. And so people are like, well, I got to get my hands on that. I just don't have a doctor or healthcare or the ability to do that. Let's find one. Let's find them all. The other really shitty thing about all this is like, it's getting worse. Anti-vaxxers are now experimenting fighting COVID by ingesting betadine, an antibacterial topical solution used for cuts and scrapes and in douches. Betadine is highly toxic and poisonous when ingested. Here are a few examples. Has anyone heard of betadine for COVID? Betadine is not considered to be antiviral. It's just used to kill bacteria topically. It is very effective. Parents probably didn't know what they were supposed to monitor her blood oxygen levels because the government and the TV media hadn't promoted that, but they didn't know about the betadine gargle that kills coronavirus in the mouth either. Texas girl 4 with COVID dies in her sleep, had no pre-existing conditions. Man, she should have had the betadine gargle. Our personal responsibility is to build our own immunity. Sleep 8 hours, eat fresh food and slow food, go out for early mornings, gargle water, salt water, betadine diluted in water, mouthwash upon arriving home, do not bath. Prime our immunity. My COVID test came back positive yesterday. So far, I only had flu-like symptoms. It's worse than most flu I have experienced. I can hardly get out of bed. Fever is relentless. My throat feels like it's on fire. COVID hasn't gone anywhere. Stay safe. Gargle with betadine or something to gargle. Salt with water will also be helpful. Take care. It's like, what the fuck? All of you fools. And like, I genuinely, like in all these cases, I feel bad for people. I feel genuinely bad for people because they are being fed misinformation, and they are being fed misinformation from grifters who are trying to use it to make money. Like, the vaccine is something that you already have access to. It'll probably be, if you are in like America, unfortunately, but it's already been paid for. It's been paid for by your tax dollars. You can go into a center and get the vaccine shot. It's been proven to be highly effective and also very safe. And here's the thing with the COVID-19 vaccine. You've already paid for it. There's no profit motive on the behalf of me. Like, you can even say like, well, does Lance work for Big Pharma? I work for the idea that I don't want you to like get my grandmother sick. Like, I don't want you to keep spreading COVID-19. It's going to be better for everyone if everyone gets vaccinated. That's the entire point. That's what most mass vaccination campaigns have been throughout human history. This is how we do it. It sucks. These fools. These absolute fools.
Было намного лучше, но на этот раз как-то не удалось. Направление? Какое направление? Просто направление музыки играет там.
The Joe Rogan Experience.
Hey, do you like movies? Do you like Serfs? Do you want movies and Serfs watching the movies? So then come over to the new channels. It's the Serfs Cinema. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. Can you do the thing, you know, that thumbs up and comment and all those things that help us out in the algorithm that controls every aspect of our lives? Also, if you happen to have a Facebook account, can you delete it? Like, just delete it. You should probably delete your Facebook account because it's not a great company. But hey, if you can't do that for whatever reason, I understand. And could you also go to facebook.com/thesurftimes then and give us a little like and a follow. We're just trying to push back against the fact that people like Ben Shapiro happen to dominate the platform entirely. And when everyone asks why do older generations believe the things they believe, one of the problems is the majority of them on social media use Facebook. So to counter that, we're just going to be on there too now. Also, if you happen to have a union or a worker co-op or even a leftist project, podcast, website, Zoom, MySpace, it doesn't matter. We will advertise it for free on this channel. All you got to do is go to weareserfs.com and use the forms that we got there, weareserfs.com. Thanks, everybody.
To our gods, Xander Corvus and Peyton L. Just, may you shower us mortals with gifts from the heaven. To our monarch, Tom Spiker, we are your humble jesters, clowning around for your amusement. To our lord, Trevor R. and Alexander Thaler, we give you our thanks for this meager land for us to toil our seed. To our knights of the Round Table, Hagbard Sealine, Matthew Scarborough, Stellar Vision, Ariana McCarthy, Daniel Sutton, Ants Are Still Running the World, Coulter Smith, Tom Groh, Val 9000, Jenna Tal, Dark Puppy, Quiet One 85, Anna Loves Riley, Omni, Riley and Anna, Poodlehawk, The Tim Caucus, Multimondi, Trevor Janis, Lemmy 101, Anthropophojak, Saren 42, Chronic de Hemphog, Catherine, Radical Maniac, Ramon Acosta, Nkosin, Violent Orchard, Sophie Baby, Political Puppy, Andreas Chiringuito, Zach Christensen, Josh Mickelson, Todd Buckingham, and Todd Lajeunesse. We raise our glasses and we salute you, our comrades.